All right, well, good evening and thank you. Welcome for joining us at Clovis Unified's Parent Forum on the Return to Campus 21-22 school year. I'm Kelly A. Vance, Chief Communications Officer, and I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I'm excited to have our superintendent, Dr. Emer O'Farrell, here. And before we get started, Emer, I'm going to turn it over to you for some introductions and a welcome.
Well, good evening, members of our community. My name is Emer O'Farrell. I'm the superintendent here in Clovis Unified. You know, tonight is a long time coming as we have spent the past month and a half culminating what is an ongoing process to gather feedback about the needs of our community as we prepare to return to a full traditional schedule at the start of the upcoming school year. During April, this included meetings at every school site around the district, discussions with our employee groups and our governing board, and a lot of time in communication with public health officials and state leaders as we prepared to finalize our plan. We recognize that this past year has been challenging and that while we have come a very long way since March 2020, we aren't done with our journey. Tonight's presentation is designed to help parents understanding what the upcoming school year will look like and how we are moving forward to ensure a successful start to the 2021-22 school year. So while you will hear a lot of information tonight, we know we won't be able to answer every question that you have, as some of your biggest questions, for example, will masks still be required? Some of these questions rely on decisions made at the state and federal level. So joining me this evening are leaders of our district, and I'd like to ask each of them to introduce themselves as we begin our presentation and then move directly into answering questions that we've received before and indeed during this event. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Deputy Superintendent.
Good evening. My name is Norm Anderson, the Deputy Superintendent. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Robin Castillo, and I'm the Associate Superintendent for Instructional Services.
Hi, my name is Kevin Kearney. I'm the Buchanan Area Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Scott Dilley, Assistant Superintendent for the Clovis High area.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Thomas, the Assistant Superintendent for the Clovis East area.
Good evening. I'm Darren Talkie, Assistant Superintendent of the Clovis North area.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hammock, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of the Clovis West area.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve France. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Corinne Fulmer, and I'm the Associate Superintendent of School Leadership. And it is truly my pleasure tonight to take you through our plan briefly before we answer questions. So I know we'll bring up the PowerPoint so I can share some very important details with you about what our fall return will look like. As we look at the 21-22 school year, we have been actively working through SART meetings, a variety of parent meetings, staff meetings with our employees to gather feedback to help us best develop the best plan possible for our return for the next school year. And so with that, we won't delay any longer. If we can move to the next slide. We will be returning, this is a slide here that I'll highlight. We will be returning in the fall to an in-person instructional model for 5 days a week. School sites will return to full day schedules that were in place prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. The full-time in-person return will also include all of our special education programs. All schools will be implementing this in-person model and pre-pandemic schedule. So that means for students who had been with us prior to March 13th, we will be returning to the bell schedules, the traditional days that were in place prior to the March 13th date with the COVID pandemic. So as we prepared for fall, we'll go ahead and move to the next slide, we recognize that for some of our parents, having an online option is still something of interest. I do want to be very clear, so I will repeat this a couple times probably, but we will not be offering CUSD Connect or Flexible Online at our home or comprehensive schools. Online instruction can be accessed by enrolling your student at our dependent charter school, Clovis Online School. To do this, a parent would need to disenroll their child from their current school and would then need to go through the enrollment process at our Clovis Online Charter School. Clovis Online Charter School offers instruction for grades K through 12 now. Clovis Online offers a standards-based instruction which is delivered through accelerated education for grades K through 5 and Edgenuity in grades 6 through 12. These are self-directed programs and do not resemble CUSD Connect. There are supplemental direct teacher-led instruction in grades K through 6, but these programs are predominantly an independent learning instructional model where lessons can be viewed within the AE or Edgenuity curriculum. They're pre-recorded lessons. So for those that may have just joined us, this is an important part because this is, while we're returning to in-person, this is a change for what we've done over the last year. I'd like to reiterate that online instruction will not be offered through our comprehensive school sites. Parents may seek an online instructional model by enrolling their child in Clovis Online School or other online schools that are available out there. But this would mean that they would be disenrolling from their current school. I do want to follow up on this slide. You'll see at the bottom, we recognize that there may be some parents or guardians of students with disabilities who may choose to explore the online instructional model. And in that case, I just want to reiterate that communication with their IEP team would be required to make sure that the appropriateness of that selection with meeting their required services. As Dr. O'Farrell talked about, there have been a lot of questions about what will school look like with health and safety measures for next year. At this time, we have planned for the conditions as they are today with masks, social distancing, and increased cleaning. This has been done to ensure that staffing and facilities are prepared to return our students to a full-time and personal instructional model. However, with increased vaccinations and improved conditions in our county and state, we continue to follow closely changing requirements and plan to adjust accordingly. As changes are anticipated between now and the start of school, we will continue to update our community on these adjustments as they apply to schools. We recognize that in the summer months, and while our families may be away from us, it will be very important that we are timely in communicating any changes with health and safety measures. We recognize that for some families, that may inform a decision for them or a change in their decision based on what's offered. I wanted to specifically highlight on our next slide that most of our incredible special education programs have been on campus since October, but sometimes there are a lot of questions about what the fall will bring. And so we are excited that our special education programs will also be moving to the traditional schedules that they had prior to the pandemic. We will continue to follow current health and safety guidance in our programs as they fit the programs specifically in our special day classes. Equally, as things may improve or change with the health and safety measures per our state and county health departments, we will make those adjustments accordingly and communicate that as well with our families, as well as obviously our staff and employees. Equally, as we go, there have been quite a few questions about what will school look like with services for our students. We are excited to share with our families that due to a federal change, we will be able to serve breakfast and lunch to our students at no cost to our students for this next academic year. In addition, transportation will be provided to those that meet eligibility per our board policy, including those who have it as a service in their IEP. This includes our school day runs and recreational runs for student co-curricular activities. We are continuing to plan according to today's health and safety measures, which would mean reduced numbers and open windows on our buses. As with other health and safety measures, we will continue to update our community of any adjustments that may occur in the coming months with regards to transportation. Co-curricular programs will be fully reinstated and offered for students. This includes athletics, VAPA, and academic teams at each of our sites, as has previously been offered. Furthermore, some other questions that we've had have been about Campus Club and ACES programs. These will also return to traditional Campus Club and ACES schedules. These will be available at a variety of sites, and more information can be gathered from your school site or by visiting the Campus Club website. Registration for Campus Club and many ACES programs will begin in May for these programs, and communication, like I said, can be found from your home school sites or on our websites. Next, I do feel that this slide is a little bit different than our return, but I do think it is very important to acknowledge that the last year and a half has caused stress and trauma to our students as they've navigated this COVID experience and change in their educational world. We have many services on our campuses which will be used to support our students in transitioning back to a traditional full-day schedule. In addition to academic support for students, we know that we will need to support our students emotionally. This slide has a list of many of these programs that we have in place at our school sites, and our school sites can work with parents to help connect your child to any of these programs that appropriately fit the need upon your student's return. And many of our students, upon a hybrid return, have exercised some of these programs currently, but for those who are considering this for the fall. In addition, we have prepared for a heightened response and I don't want to say response, but a heightened acuity to the needs of our students in terms of building a culture of welcoming and transition and that emotional support within our classrooms, within the student body, with a lot of focus on how we can help our kids transition back to a traditional day amongst their peers and that engagement and social interaction that we know has been so important for our students. And we can answer more questions, like I said, as we go on about any of these specific ones, but this is a slide that will be referenced. So where does that take us with what our plan entails? Tomorrow, an email will come out to every one of our parents with information. This email will have links that will provide you with some of the information presented tonight, some frequently asked questions, to make sure that you have all the information at your fingertips. What we ask is that you review this information, because in this email that will come out, we'll also have, we're also going to ask you to complete a commitment survey and that link. And so we want to make sure that you are making a decision with all the information possible. And I encourage that if you have questions that you cannot find the answers to, that you reach out to your school sites. Wherever your current school site is, they can help provide some answers for you to help you make that informed decision. This email will, like I said, will come out tomorrow. And we are asking parents to make a decision. We're asking you to declare a commitment for the fall and through next year on this survey tool. And we're asking parents to try and do this by May 7th. This is really important. We're going to use your commitment information to make sure that we are staffed accordingly, that we can do the best to meet the needs of students wishing to return to in-person instruction. I recognize that there could still be questions, but like I said, there will be a lot of information provided in this email. We do ask you to review that. And then, like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out to your school sites and we will be happy to help guide you through anything that may not have been readily available. So just in a brief summary before we go to some questions and answers, we are very excited to get to offer to our families and our students a 5-day traditional full-day return to in-person instruction. We do have a resource for families that are looking to pursue and continue with an online instructional model. We recognize that this will require a lot of reflection perhaps on some families, because that online model does require you to disenroll from your home school and would require you to enroll at Clovis Online Charter School. But we really do, we very much are excited to meet the needs of our communities. We're excited to bring our students back onto campus, where we know that our amazing teachers, our amazing administrators and families can partner in getting our kids back to some sense of a traditional school day. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson. I know that he is going to help facilitate some of the questions and answers tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Fulmer. And yes, I would just reiterate a little bit what you said. As we get started tonight, we just really want to send out a huge thank you to our teachers and all of our employees for their work and flexibility this school year. It hasn't been easy on anyone. Those of us with kids know that for sure as parents, but we also realize it's been a tough challenge on our teachers and employees, and your efforts haven't gone unnoticed and are truly greatly appreciated. Tonight's presentation is designed to answer many of the questions that parents have already submitted, whether in your parent meetings at school sites or from our online comment form that was posted in advance of this forum. We've also been receiving questions throughout the presentation, and we're going to jump right into those, begin to answer as many of those as we can cover tonight before we stop at 6 o'clock. Any questions we don't have an answer for or that we don't get to tonight will be included in information that we'll continue to update on our website. Tomorrow, as Ms. Fulmer mentioned in her presentation, all families will be receiving an email with additional information, and that they are very important commitment form for the upcoming school year. So with that, I think I'm going to hand it actually back to Ms. Fulmer for our first question.
All right, and I think I saw this. The first question I heard is a very relevant one. What will we do if we end up having to have another shutdown? And that is, we have learned a lot over the last year. And so what I will say is that I think will be easier for us this next round. With the ability to offer one instructional model at our school sites, should we reach a condition of which we must temporarily transition to an online instructional model, it will be easier for us to pivot and then bring students back when that is safe, should we encounter this again. And that is a little bit of the decision in terms of where we would offer what models. This does allow us to continue to meet needs and return students without teacher changes or more surveys or instructional models by offering the in-person at our traditional comprehensive sites.
I believe I had the second question. And that question was, what are we doing to address and identify learning loss? We know that our teachers are teaching right now, whether it be by the classroom, online, or our flexible online programs, while at the same time recognizing that there may be some gaps in student learning. Our teachers currently are giving assessments to students like we always do to monitor progress and see where they are. But we are offering and administering a battery of local assessments at the end of the school year to diagnose and prescribe where students are. And what is nice about those, it's accessible in all of our instructional models. It gives us a snapshot or a picture of where students are in their learning, and they're aligned with our daily teaching and learning so that we'll be able to use this information as we move into the following school year. As we begin in the fall, our teachers, as they always do, give diagnostics and assessments at the beginning of the year to see where students are. And those will look different depending on grade level and subject matter that they are teaching. All of that information, as well as grades and credits students may have not earned at the high school level, will all be used to make instructional decisions and to make sure we are meeting students where they are and progressing them forward to where they need to be.
Thank you, Robin. I think I had a follow-up question to my earlier answer before we jump off to do another one. I did want to clarify in my answer about what will we do with COVID is I do want to be consistent that the same model will exist across our district-wide at all schools. Should we encounter another stay-at-home order or a need to transition to online. So I do want to clarify that we will have consistency amongst our schedules with regards to the models. I think that goes to you next, Steve.
Yeah, and so my question that came forward was, will spectators and students be able to attend games and other activities? We have every intention to bring back our spectators and most importantly, our students, to let them back into their environment, their schools, show their school support. We're real firm believers in our students being active and part of our schools. And so we have every intention to bring them back. Of course, we are going to adhere to any state and local guidelines that are coming down, but things are loosening up. We're already having more and more people at outdoor events, and we have indoor events that are open. So as far as activities, so we're excited to bring back our spectators and our students to have a great atmosphere.
Thank you, Mr. France. And I think I'll tackle the next one, which is why are we only offering online through Clovis Online School? I think a lot of people have asked us, and I think some of the parents have been pretty straightforward, and teachers as well. What have we learned in the past 14 months or 15 months? One of those things that we've learned is it is very difficult for a school district of our size to provide multiple programs at the single comprehensive site. And I think we've also been looking at what some other school districts have done. And we've kind of learned from what we've done, and we've learned from what other school districts have done as well. And we really want to get back to providing the pre-COVID schedule for all of our students who request that at our comprehensive sites. And to do that, we need to go back to what we previously did. Was we always had an online school that worked with our students who the comprehensive site didn't quite fit their needs. And so we've got to return back to that model. It also allows us, and we are hoping this doesn't happen, but it also allows us to be able to, as Ms. Fulmer said, pivot into a model that we can much easily control if we do have to revert back to some different form of in-person instruction because of the pandemic hitting again or anything of that sort. And that ability to move into pivot at this large of an organization, we think is much better suited for this environment, which is really what I think most of the other school districts in California did as well too. And so that's what we're moving towards, and we want to provide two good, strong educational environments for both groups of students that want those. And this will be the best way to do that.
Great. I think I have another question, and this one I have heard, and so I do want to echo about will kids or staff have to be vaccinated? And I know with some of the conversations out there on the media with CSUs and UCs, that this probably has raised a lot of questions and concerns. Currently, there is no requirement for vaccination. However, we have provided access to vaccination for those who would like to be vaccinated. So our staffs have had that access and continue. And I know the county has opened up to students, I believe, that were 16 and older. And there are some vaccinations being looked at and tested, as we all know, for younger age levels. But currently, there is no requirement of vaccination to return to schools.
Good evening. Okay, we have a question that's multifaceted. And so it's asking how long the commitment the parents are going to be making if they choose to go to the online charter school. Will it be a full year? And what if they change their mind mid-year? Like any charter school option that we have, parents can change their mind, but that would again require the parent to disenroll in Clovis Online School and then enroll in their home school that they are currently have. And so there is a frequently asked question section in that about all of what that entails. So just to be clear, you would disenroll your child in their home school, enroll them in Clovis Online. If you choose that you would change your mind partway through the semester, that would require you to disenroll in Clovis Online, enroll in your home school, and that will be based on availability. So if, for example, your home school, you have a third grader, there's no capacity or no room at that school, it would be like you enrolling your student new to that school. And so there is a possibility of being overflowed to another area school, elementary school.
Okay, I'll try to clarify or answer a question in regards to recess and what that might look like next year. So we'll continue to work with our local departments of public health. we certainly will have supervised recesses like we've always had. And as as things progress and change, we'll begin to communicate those specific recess plans. I know currently our teachers are doing a great job of working with their students and having them kind of space out and take things like mass breaks and distance like that. But we're still working with our Department of Public Health on what exactly lunches will look like. But our recess will look or getting closer to what a normal recess will look like. So that's our plan. But again, some of those guidelines will continue to evolve, and we'll work with our Department of Public Health, and we'll work with our students and communicate them. And I think that's the one thing I would say that has been really great about our students this year is when we've given them specific protocols, whether it's how they walk in the hallways or use the restrooms or enter campus, our kids have been remarkable this year, and it's just amazing. And we're so grateful that our parents have helped reinforce those protocols. And so we'll continue to work with our students, our families, and those are the types of things that will continue to evolve as we work with our local Department of Public Health.
Thank you, Kevin. I think I have the next one. So there's a great question about what happens if we have a student who has to quarantine. And so I think, there's a lot of flexibility in this. One of the things that we had previously before COVID, when students came down with the flu or any kind of an illness, was that, could do an independent study, and teachers would help provide work and lessons for students to complete based on how well they felt. And there are opportunities for touching base with students. We've learned a lot through technology, but we will go back to some of the systems that have worked well for us in the past in terms of, we have independent study. We want to make sure all of our students stay caught up and make sure that they stay on track. And so we'll work individually as those situations arise.
All right, Darren, would you like to tackle the next one?
Yes, I've got that one. So the question is, what happens with school social distancing in high school classes with 30 plus kids? I can tell you, at least at our site at Clovis North, we have worked closely with our facilities department and have had them come in and make sure we meet the requirements of the 3 foot or social distancing of 3 feet, and also providing safety alleys for students to exit. And in most of our classrooms at the secondary level, we can fit anywhere between 34 to 36 in those classrooms. So we will, do that and measure that by classroom and by classroom space. But at this point, we can get to those mid 30s. So that we're working on that almost on a daily basis and in conjunction with our state and county health departments.
Okay, I believe I have the next question. There is a question about whether our PALS and SDC preschools will also return to full day schedules. Those programs will return to our pre-COVID schedules. So the schedules that they followed previous to this, they will return to the same schedule that they had previously.
Really quickly, I'm going to jump in, and I just want to reiterate, I thought it was a great point that, thank you, Mr. Taki, you clarified. But yes, we are working with our facilities departments, and we are building caps at our classrooms at 3 feet social distancing. That's what we've prepared for when I said we were preparing for current health and safety conditions. So we're working to build our classrooms at that based on the size of the classrooms, enrollment, all of those things to make sure we can accommodate that. Should social distancing guidance change, then that will be an easier transition to go the other way, but we have prepared for the 3 feet to make sure that we're meeting what the current guidance states, and so that we are prepared for that. So thank you, Ms. Truckee. I just wanted to clarify that for the purposes of building classes.
All right, Ms. Thomas?
I'll go ahead and speak to field trips, and then I think Mr. France will speak to Sonora. But yes, we're going to try and do field trips according to the guidance of the Department of Public Health. We've been very creative about providing opportunities for students in times when we couldn't go on field trips by bringing some things to our schools. But yes, as the guidelines become better, as they are now, and as we continue to learn more from our Department of Public Health, the idea is to get our kids out and about in our communities.
And Mike, regarding Sonora, so we have a great opportunity in Sonora, being an outdoor school that's under Clovis Unified School District, and as you know, the sixth graders attend that. We have to follow the Tuolumne County guidelines, and so Reese Warren, our director up there, has been working really hard on trying to get the restrictions lifted, and we're really optimistic that we will be able to bring kids back for Sonora next year. We believe we're really close to a 25% occupancy within the next couple of weeks, and we're hopeful that things will be normal for our sixth graders so they can have their rite of passage and it'll be an awesome event like normal.
Thank you, Mr. France. I know as we have some other questions coming in, I think that's what we're all realizing is we've even seen it from the CDC that there's more opportunities outdoors. A lot more of those restrictions are being relaxed, and we're not trying to be overly optimistic because we're still going to operate within our guidance is, but we really do hope that our community stats stay as they are so that these opportunities can be made available. And things like Sonora, which are outside, and there is a whole sleeping overnight there and indoors and everything of that sort, but we're sure hoping those types of opportunities, and as Ms. Thomas said, the field trip pieces as well too, which could be outside. So I think Ms. Fulmer, you have another one?
I do. I think there was a question about what's the latest a family can choose. Well, we're asking everyone to complete the commitment by the 7th. Sites will be following up because it really is important to our staffing. We want to make sure that we have a good idea of which students are coming in person. And we also want to make sure we have a good idea of students that might be electing to choose Clovis Online School so that we can accommodate as many as possible with space. With that said, I'm going to say, the sooner the better for families. And that's why if you do have questions, I would encourage you to please reach out to your school sites because we are happy to answer any questions possible to help you make that commitment. Just as anything, if you make a commitment and in August something changes, but as Dr. Hammock mentioned, it is then truly based up to the space in that grade level and things if you were to choose to re-enroll at a school or attempt to enroll in a different school. So hopefully that answered the question. I'll review. I think there's a few things here and I'll review and come back if need be.
Okay, I have a question about who has the authority to mandate vaccines. That's a really good question. Many of the things that we have seen have been from the state level with other vaccine requirements. We do know that I believe there are some federal vaccine requirements as well too, but that is normally where the mandates will come from. Currently, there is none. We do see it a little bit at the collegiate level right now that we're hearing some things about, but we have not had that come down from the state for TK through 12 comprehensive sites. So we'll wait to hear more about that. In the meantime, we're just encouraging everybody to get it that can, realizing that there is no vaccines for anybody under the age of 16 currently. So we're trying to encourage all of the adults in our community. And now as well, our juniors and seniors that are normally right around 16, 17, or 18 years of age to get it if they so choose to do so. There's not a shortage anymore. There's not really reason to not get it unless it's a personal preference that they wouldn't want to get it. But prior, when there was a shortage of vaccines, we totally understood why they were kind of slowing the process down. But now it really seems to be wide open, and we think is a nice opportunity. But no mandates as of yet. We have not heard that would be coming as well. So we'll let everybody know if it does.
All right, I think the next question is about honors and AP classes at online school and possibility of CTE. So we do have AP courses at Clovis Online School. They may not be the full contingency of all the courses that we offer at our comprehensive sites. However, they are a A through G approved institution and C2A approved institution. And we do offer AP courses at Clovis Online School. As far as CTE, really that's the benefit of being at the comprehensive side, is that you're afforded the opportunity to have the many luxuries of having a CTE program. So it's a little bit more of a challenge at Clovis Online School to have any type of CTE courses, because once again, the material is virtual. And so it's somewhat of a challenge sometimes to do those CTE courses. So that's where we are on that.
I saw that there was another follow-up clarifying. What if we change our mind and we want to change instructional models during the year? And I think the question specifically asked, what would be the best time to make that transition? And obviously for a family, that's going to be a family decision. We have students enroll every year in a regular year at different times of the year, and we work with that transition. But if you happen to be a high school student and you're working at online school and you're thinking you would like to transition back to a comprehensive high school, a semester change is always better. It's a little cleaner with grades and partial credits from different school sites, and that's true when we receive students from other schools as well. So there's always those natural timeline changes in a year, and after a grading period, that sometimes helps for those that may have been curious about if I change my mind mid-year.
Okay, seems like our questions are slowing down just a bit. Mr. France, do you want to handle the online? You can speak to co-curricular activities that are available.
Yeah, we once again, the luxuries of being at the comprehensive site are co-curriculars. Attending online school is very limited in regards to their co-curriculars and athletics. We have had in the past a cross-country team here and there, but really it's the co-curriculars are really at the comprehensive site. And once again, because we're a virtual school and students are not required to come on a daily basis, those are the struggles of having sports teams. And really, as far as CIF reasons, the students that attend online school could not participate at their home school because they're not a student of, for example, Clovis High, Clovis West. So they could not attend Clovis Online School and still participate for their home school. So that's a CIF rule, and because Clovis Online School is really a separate school.
Thank you, Mr. France. And we do have a community recreation program, and some of our current online students will take advantage of that. There's a lot of opportunities available to that, but it's definitely not like it is at the school sites, that's for sure. And if we do have any other questions from our community, if you could please submit those now. We will finish a little bit early if we get the questions answered, but if you want to go ahead and submit those. Let me just see if we have anything else here. We're also going to make sure you have any further questions. They'll be addressed on the website in our FAQs frequently asked questions section also. There's a question about CARES funding, and the district's going to publish how we're spending them. Yes, definitely so. We do have, we've just been actually working, a lot of our staff have been serving in a committee to look at the needs and the prioritization of some of those funds. A lot centered around any additional safety measures that will need to be taken next year to improve the classroom settings, whether it be, additional desks, smaller desks, increased ventilation, a lot of different items. Actually, I think there's a whole list of 140 list of items and those different opportunities. So yes, those will be shared, most likely probably at a board meeting in the not saying near future. That takes a while to process all this, but that will be coming out and shared with our community as well, and possibly at our school sites during the meetings as well too. But that all gets approved by the governing board. A recommendation will be made to the governing board on how we spend those monies as well after more work is done. There's still lots more work to be done on there too. So let's see, Mr. France, looks like you might have another one here.
Can you elaborate on elementary at online school, new and direct instruction? Okay, so As far as the direct for elementary students, it is not going to be like the Clovis CUSD Connect or flexible learning model that was happening at the comprehensive school sites for this year at the COVID times. However, at online school, there will be direct instruction using the AE curriculum for K through 5 and Edgenuity for grade 6 with a certificated teacher. There will be direct instruction on a daily basis, and there also will be independent learning. The challenge with that is the student really has to be an independent learner and be able to adjust to their independent style at home. So yes, there will be direct instruction. However, it will not look like the CUSD Connect like we had during the COVID times.
Great, thank you, Mr. France. I see that there's a question about cafeteria spacing and how meals will work. Currently, we are planning on offering a full cafeteria service with meals. We are looking at scheduling to make sure that we meet the social distancing. Like I said, currently we're planning on what we know today as the health and safety guidance. So with 6 feet, some of our schools are getting creative and having what might have been a first and second grade lunch. First graders might go out while the second graders eat and flip-flop. And so there's been a lot of creativity looking at outdoor spaces, but lunches will be served not just in the to-go. We'll have a traditional lunch service. However, we will continue to monitor what the guidance is on the social distancing, and we are planning accordingly, and we'll update our families if there are changes to that social distance.
Dr. Dilly, looks like you have the next one.
Yes, my question is whether kids will be able to socialize with each other during break and lunch. Yes, they kind of are doing that right now, socially distant, wearing their masks, and of course they're socializing. And of course next year, and I think we mentioned this a little bit with recess, but even lunch times at the secondary schools, the kids will be able to socialize. We'll just have to wait and see what the guidance is for some of that, but outdoors especially, we feel like kids will definitely have a chance to be more normal.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dilly. Let's see. Anything else?
Thank you, Kelly. I see another question. I'm sorry, one more, guys, at least. There might be a few more, but here's a question about face coverings and why we have them as a requirement. And right now, currently, when you go to the California Department of Public Health guidance and requirements, it does require us to have face coverings at schools. We recognize that our country, our state, we've learned a lot about COVID-19, and with vaccinations, we recognize that there are some changes coming ahead. But to date, our schools have not received any changes in the requirements for masks. This will be something that we'll be monitoring, and we will make sure our families are aware if the guidance changes with regards to social distancing and masks. I know that that is very important for some of our families about what next year will look like. We don't currently know, but we're planning for what we know right now. But as this is an ever-changing and we're learning a lot more, and with the increase of vaccinations out there and restrictions lifting, we continue to monitor, and we'll be very ready to be responsive to any changes that come. So that's a great question, and that's weighing heavy on some of our families. So thank you. Oh, I think I got another one. All right, so I have another one here. I apologize, guys, catching up on the questions. I do want to remind families that in addition to this commitment email that will come out tomorrow with information, that we will still have our annual re-enrollment process in July. I don't want anyone to be confused by that. That's just to update phone numbers, release information, contact information. It just helps us make sure that we have everything on file to support your students and you as a family with school items. But this commitment survey is different. This is going to ask you to help make a choice, to help us staff about where you believe right now with what we know your family would like to for their children for next year. So hopefully that doesn't confuse anyone, and we'll continue to send reminders about the re-enrollment process in July when we reach that. The first thing priority wise will be this email tomorrow with the commitment.
Okay, I believe an additional question came in about supports for learning loss. You know, just a reminder, our students are learning with our teachers currently. We do realize there will be some gaps and some extra needs that students have. And so our teachers do a really good job of monitoring students where they are, looking at diagnostic information. We will be doing local assessments at the end of the year to monitor our students where they are. We are also putting in some additional social emotional supports for students. We know coming back onto campus with having a year in a totally different environment and making all of these different shifts, we are increasing that as well. So we will be able to support students' academic needs as well as their social and emotional learning needs.
All right, thank you, Dr. Castillo. Just checking to see a chat if we had any additional questions. Okay, there does seem to be a lot of questions regarding the mask, and we absolutely understand the questions and the concerns from both sides. Are they required or they're not going to be required? But what I'll say is we will continually, we are every week, as we've been doing for the last 15 months, staying in contact with the local and state and actually federal Department of Public Health and getting guidance on the health and safety requirements. Some of them are changed. We've seen that happen. We've seen the distancing change happen. We're now seeing those that are vaccinated, you know, being able to be outside without masks. We're starting to see some of those items. But right now, I think we'd be doing a disservice to our community to say that masks potentially in August may not be required when we really don't know that. So we're going to just make sure we keep everybody updated. We will definitely make sure that we keep our staff and community updated as those health and safety requirements do change. And we're hoping that they do. We're hoping that we as a community stay where we're at and get even better with regards to the metrics of COVID, so that we do have more opportunities open up for us. As you've heard from all of our team this evening, that's our hope, that's our goal. We want to return to you know, recesses where they don't have to be socially distanced. We want to return to class sizes that we're back to normal, where we can offer the excellent services that we did prior. And we're just hoping all that returns. But as we talk about, hope isn't a strategy. We've got to use, still continue to use science and still continue to use the guidance that we're getting to guide us. And I'll just say thank you to everyone. It looks like we are finished with the questions. We're going to have the questions also on our websites. Please communicate to people, your friends, your neighbors, your people on social media that about tonight's meeting if they were not able to view it, and that they will be getting an email from the district tomorrow that really asks them to make commitments so that we can build our schedules and staff our schools, which normally we would have done a couple months ago. And we're ready to do that now. We just need to kind of know where the students are asking to be. And so thank you again to everyone. As we've said over the past year, this is truly a team effort. There wasn't a manual. There's not a manual still. We may write one after this, but there's not one. But we are very excited to have our kids coming back full time, 5 days a week, schedules at all of our comprehensive sites, and to have an online option available for Clovis Online School. We're happy to have that as well too. So with nothing else to be said, I think for this evening, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to having further communication